to a special Oxbow Brewing showcase episode of
Brutal Battle. Yes, so usually it's the other way around, and I know people know this, but Rebecca's going to be taking over for this one. She did the hard work. She did the research for this Oxbow showcase, and I'm excited because I get to sit back and sip on what I assume are very tasty beers, especially based on what we had at the tasting room in their Newcastle location when we were visiting Portland, Maine.
And I did all of the research on smaller pieces of notebook paper, and they're not very well organized. I did this today while waiting to be selected or not selected for jury duty.
Yes. Yeah, you could have a lot of time when you're waiting
but I didn't really have that much time because it was busy, but I think I got everything I needed.
Okay, good. Well, you lead the way, and I mean, obviously we're going to do the typical. You're going to give whatever history you have, whatever insight about them, some beers. We're trying for the beers, which we must say up front, Head Brewer Mike Fava handpicked these beers for us to try on this podcast. I put them in a certain order, but I said to Rebecca, feel free to pull them any order that you feel like. I put them in what I think should be the tasting order based off what I know they are, but you can freestyle it, choose it if you want it to go more by story, which we've done before.
Yeah, no. Did you want me to... I feel like I need to sip on something.
Sure. So you want me to open one?
Yeah.
What do you want?
Well, let's do that one.
This first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that first one Carlin's going to open is actually their flagship beer.
Yeah, it's the barrel-aged Farmhouse Pale Ale. It is barrel-aged Farmhouse Ale. This one bottled in January of 2018. Production time, which I like they put that on here, 14 months. That's a lot of time. And it says enjoy within 5 years. So you can age it within that 5-year range. And it says on the side, it's 6.5% alcohol. Barrel-aged Farmhouse Pale Ale is an American hopped saison aged in oak barrels with wild yeast and Maine microflora. To people not understanding what the Maine microflora means, it means it was open fermentation.
Right. Now, I'm assuming... I did not find in my research... Ooh, good
Brought the bucket.
Yeah.
I had a feeling. Since they mainly do like these kind of wild fermented beers, there have definitely been times where they run over. And that's exactly what happened with this one. So there's some in the bucket.
Well, you came prepared with a towel, too.
Yes, I have a towel as well. Because the last time...
Yeah, you were not... You were super prepared.
Yes.
So I'm not sure if their flagship... All I found was the Farmhouse Pale Ale, so I'm not sure if this is always barrel-aged.
Well, it's just oak.
Okay.
It's not barrel-aged in the sense of, like, spirits. I mean, I feel like you can use barrel-aged anyway because technically it's aged in a barrel, but I feel like nowadays people use barrel-aged when they're referring to like, spirit or wine or something like that. But, yes, this is oak.
So while this is their flagship beer, it is not their first one they brewed. We'll get to that one.
Yeah, that'll potentially be the last one that we try, oddly enough. Okay, wipe that down.
It smells like real grapey.
Does it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what does it look like?
Oh, sorry. I like to freestyle.
My hands smell like alcohol/wood. Flowery, too.
Yeah.
Actually.
It's pretty... It's a little hazy yellow, or a little orangish.
Yeah, orangish yellow. It's not, like, super hazy or anything, like... You definitely can't see through it, but you can see, like, shapes through it.
Shapes. It's, like, opaque, kind of.
It's got... Oh, my gosh. That's nice...
It's just so hard because, like, it just smells like a farmhouse.
Yeah, that typical farmhouse yeast smell. There's a lot of lemon in the nose. Backed up with, like, some honey and maybe a little honeysuckle for a little floral note.
It smells sweet.
Sweet and tangy at the same time.
And tart, yeah.
Ooh, it smells really good. I don't know. I smell like a slight funkiness on the end, which I feel like is partially from the yeast, from that farmhouse yeast, but I feel like also is a little barrel-y, a little bit oaky. It smells really good.
So when we were starting to record this episode, I was like, I like these styles, but they're typically not. I'm not like super jazzed about them. I'm like, I don't know how much I'm going to like these beers tonight. And Carlin's like, Just wait.
I know.
And I feel like this proves me wrong because this is very tasty.
That's what I'm saying. It's got this really nice, like, underlying lemon that's just like, I don't know, it's like a medium-low lemon tanginess that carries throughout each sip.
Yeah.
It's got, like I was saying, like that kind of honeysuckle flavor in there. Like, it's a little flowery. And then you definitely taste a lot of the Farmhouse yeast.
To me, and again, we're coming up on Thanksgiving, this is a perfect Thanksgiving Day beer.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's light, it's easy, it's flavorful, it's not going to overpower any of the food. You can drink a lot of it.
Farmhouse ales are super versatile for food. Like, super versatile for food. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, this with turkey and stuffing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I mean, we talk a lot about, like, a beer you want to pay attention to, a beer that, like, demands your attention, and one you can kind of put in the background. And I think this can kind of do it all. You know, like, if you want it to be the showcase, it can. If you need to take a backseat to the food, it can.
I get a little bit of the barrel in there, too. I get a little bit of wood on the finish. Yeah. And another thing that I want to say about Farmhouse ales in general, well, specifically these, when they're doing it wild style, this is a great entry point, I feel like, for people who are wine drinkers, specifically something like a light Sauvignon Blanc or something like that, because it reminds me of, like, a nice, delicate, kind of dry
very
white
winey
wine.
Yeah.
And... Sorry, I'm hijacking this.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking a lot of my talking points.
I'm sorry, just one more thing. When I think about these types of breweries, and when I'm saying these types of breweries, mainly what comes to mind is to a much lesser degree Stillwater artisanal ales, and to a much higher degree on the same level, I think, Oxbow Brewing and Blackberry Farm. They make these super finessed, like, wild farmhouse ales that are always just, like, delicate but super flavorful and really good, and I just view them as a treat, as, like, buying yourself a really nice, expensive glass of or bottle of wine. Yeah. Because they are more expensive, and part of that being, like it says on this bottle, 14 months production time for this one beer. You know, they have to make some money. And honestly, I don't know how they're really making money like they would need to when they're taking this much time with the beers, but they're awesome. Sorry. So you mentioned, like, because I always feel like, what is a farmhouse beer? Like, I feel like that's kind of gets thrown around, and I myself am like, what is it? Yeah, a lot of people don't know.
They originated from France and Belgium, and they were made with leftover crops and natural yeast from the winter, and then enjoyed by the farm workers in the summer, for the season. So to be drunk during that crop heavy farm season. Usually they're semi-dry, tart, fruity in aroma and flavor, funky, earthy, and that is the style that Oxbow specializes in. So they do Belgian and French style farmhouse beers, and they do one Pilsner.
And it's a mighty, mighty fine Pilsner too. But you can see why this style would be popular for people who have been working all day. You know, it's super flavorful, but it's super easy. Yeah. You know, you can't get done working all day out on a farm and then drink, like, a heavy stout or, like, a super hoppy beer. It's going to kill you. Yeah.
So Oxbow started in 2011 in Newcastle, Maine, which is a more rural area. I think Lincoln County. Obviously, they have that European influence. And it was founded by Tim Adams and then his friends Jeff, spelled Geoff, and Dash Maisland.
I think Massland.
Massland.
Yeah, Massland.
So they had the barn. So they kind of came together and started Oxbow.
Is that the one that we saw in Newcastle?
Yes.
Okay, that barn.
So that is, yes.
Like legit barn.
It is a legit barn. And I'll talk about the property a little bit later. But I was interested in the name. So Oxbow, the name is inspired by the name of the bends of a river. And they picked that because rather than traveling in a straight line to create their beer, it takes months or years rather than a few days to create their beer. So they kind of take the long way around things. So most of their beer either takes between 6 and 18 months to produce. So kind of exactly what you were talking about, Carlin. Like, it's a labor of love.
So it's like, other than like the Pilsner, you know, because that obviously doesn't take that long, but typically their beers is like no less than half a year. That's
It's
nuts.
crazy. Yeah. So founded by Tim, who grew up in Japan.
Oh, nice.
And then spent a lot of time in Colorado. And I wasn't really clear on then how he came to Maine, but there he was and started this. So currently they produce all of their beer in Newcastle. Carlin's drinking the bucket.
Yeah, sorry, I don't want this to go to waste. Drinking the beer that overflowed.
So
in the bucket.
had the pleasure of visiting the property in Newcastle, and it's on an 18-acre farm. It is comprised of woods, a pond, trails, pigs, swimming holes. There's a fruit orchard. There are beehives. There are chickens. We talked. We didn't see, but we talked about.
The pigs.
The cat.
Oh,
Dizzy.
yeah, Dizzy.
Dizzy the cat.
And on the topic of the pigs, I think I remember Mike Fava telling us that the pigs, they raise for a restaurant in Portland.
That sounds all right. I know they've used their pigs in, like, pig roasts.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. Which I know they had one for I think it was their 2017th anniversary celebration, and they did a pig roast in conjunction with Duck Fat,
right,
who we talked about on the last episode. And, they have a close partnership.
And then also on the property is a little guest house. It's a 3-bedroom, and you can rent it on Airbnb.
Which, how cool is that? Because to stay there and then just be able to be like, oh, I'm just going to go get some beers.
Yeah.
Like, you literally could just hang out at the Oxbow tap room all day, all night, for however long you want, and then just be like, oh, I'm going to go to my Airbnb, go to bed, just walk right over there.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Or like, and either mountain biking or walking on the trails or...
Feeding pigs, maybe?
Yeah, enjoying trying to find Dizzy. And then in the winter, same thing, like enjoying the properties and all of that. So like I said, they started there, and I found this on one article I read. I'm not really sure. I didn't find it anywhere else, but they apparently use the slogan "Loud beer from a quiet place."
Yeah,
you've heard that? Okay, that was kind of interesting.
And so I understand what they're saying with the loud beer aspect of it. I mean, obviously, I understand the quiet place portion because it's in the middle of nowhere and it is quiet. But the loud portion, I guess it's because they're doing, wild stuff, open fermentation, using, bacteria from the environment, and it's more outside the box beers. But at the same time, to me, it's not loud in the sense that these flavors are just so soft and finessed and just delicate, beautiful. Oh, there's nothing in there.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I wouldn't. Yeah. Okay. Did you want to open?
Oh, do you need a rinse?
Yeah, give me a rinse and let's go to the next one.
Yeah, it didn't take me long to finish mine. And then I drank from the bucket where it overflowed. So, well, hopefully this one doesn't overflow, but I'm prepared. Keep a close eye. So this one is their Crossfade. This is one that we did try. The first one, the Barrel Aged Farmhouse Pale Ale, I don't think we tried that at the tap room. Or maybe we did. I can't remember.
I don't remember.
But this one we definitely did. It's the Crossfade. It's their stainless aged farmhouse ale, bottled in December of 2017. Production time was 6 months on this one, so on the lower end.
Right.
And also says enjoy within 5 years. It is 5.5% alcohol by volume, and it said it is a hop-forward saison fermented and aged with Brettanomyces in stainless steel tanks. So there you have it.
Fun.
And one of the things I really like about them is they do 500 milliliter bottles. Mm-hmm. So it's not that crazy large size of the 750. I like the 500s.
That's a good size. Especially, yeah. Whoa.
Oh, whoa.
Holy cow.
That one was like
It was like a volcano.
Yeah, it was like a jet-propelled geyser, how that came out. I wasn't ready for that one.
Gosh, are all of them going to be like this?
I don't know. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, when you have, like, wild bacteria in there and things like Brettanomyces, like, you honestly don't know what's going to end up happening. So, I'm going to have to wipe off this bottle before I start pouring.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't prepared for that. But, geez. All right, so now I can pour it. Wow, there's a lot in there. Well, the bucket has a lot of head to it. How much beer is left in the bottle is my question.
This is much more light on the color.
Yeah, well, there's like mainly head in the bottle.
Oh my gosh,
it's crazy. Man, I'm glad I had
You're not only the bucket. Another shower.
I smell good though. I don't have it. Actually, I only have it on my hands, really. So, but
I mean, you smell good now, but
don't smell my hand though. Smell it. That smells good, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if I want to be smelling that all night.
Okay. All right. So this one's very.
I just want to start drinking it.
This is very yellow.
Yes.
The other one had a decent amount of orange tinge to it. This is very yellow. Same amount of clarity to it, like not super clear, but not super hazy.
It has a lot of the same.
A lot of the same notes.
As the other one, only dialed back a lot.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like I smell more lemon and more honey and less of floral. Less flowery and less of the farmhouse yeast coming through. Agreed.
I'm getting a lot of honey.
So it's done with Brett, and I don't feel like I smell as much funk as I would assume from a Brett beer. Although it kind of depends on what strain of Brett did you use. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of funkiness on the nose now.
Yeah. This is very, very easy to drink.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Super, super easy. Actually, it's less tart than the first one. And it's... While the first one had a little bit of a funky note to it, this has a decent funky note to it. And it's mainly on the finish. It's like a little bit of that tart lemon up front with some honey, and then it finishes with a funkiness. Yeah. That's kind of like a medium-low funk.
To me, it finishes a little more bitter.
Yeah, there's a bitterness to it there. Which is one of the things that I read a little bit about Oxbow. It's one of the things that they kind of were striving. I read one article. So it was they had kind of said that that's one of the things they were striving for is taking the typical Belgian farmhouse style and then putting tweaks to it that are more American, doing more American style hopping. So there's more bitterness and it's more dry and refreshing. And you definitely get that, especially with this beer. I think this beer highlights that a lot.
Yeah. So after they kind of got up and going on their Newcastle location, they expanded to open Oxbow Blending and Bottling, and they opened in 2014 in Portland, Maine. And that is a 10,000 square foot facility, and that's where they do all of... Oh, I don't want any of that. That's gross.
You don't want it from a bucket?
No, I don't.
This is a clean bucket.
No, but it ran down the outside of the bottle.
Okay.
That grosses me out.
I'm drinking it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do all of that.
Anyway,
we'll see how far I get.
The dump bucket. So that's where they do all of, obviously, their blending and bottling. So at the facility in Newcastle is where they, obviously make all the beer. And they got a little limited because of that location, because they were running out of storage. And it was difficult for trucks to get there.
I can see that, because literally when you turn in there, it's a gravel road.
And there's not a lot of space.
No, not at all.
So that kind of makes sense. And again, we were able to go to both, so we could kind of compare and contrast both. And they're definitely very different.
Oh, yeah. Huge different. One's more like farmer, hunter, hiker, and the other one's more like urban hippie.
Yeah.
Or, I'm sorry, not hippie, hipster. It's more like urban hipster style. Yeah.
Talked about that. So in 2016, they were up to 1,600 barrels, which was kind of like their max, their limit for being able to self-distribute.
Oh, like legally?
Yeah.
Okay.
So now they have to go with a distributor. So now they release about 40 beers annually. They have a cool ship for spontaneous fermentation.
So people, there's a comment coming up on the Bissell Brothers episode that I will make about not knowing any other breweries out there that have cool ships. Strike that in advance because Oxbow has a cool ship. I just learned that today. Yeah.
So they're in 2018, they're estimating to do between 4,000 and 5,000 barrels.
No.
And they have about 30 employees, but they don't really want to be a large capacity like Brewing. They kind of want to stay where they are.
Smart.
And so Tim Adams believes that they want to stay an authentic farmhouse brewing, and they want to stay in a rural location and use well water because that's what he believes is like an authentic farmhouse. I
believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember that when we were talking to Mike Fava, I had talked to him about the water because he brought up that they used well water.
Right.
And I was asking him about if they change their water like a lot of breweries do. You know, a lot of them will use reverse osmosis and basically strip it down to nothing and then rebuild it with minerals that to get like the flavor profiles they want. And Mike had said, no, like the water is so good and so clean that we don't do any of that stuff to it. We can just use it as is, which I was like, that must be really nice. Save you a lot of time and frustration.
And then one more thing about their Portland space. You mentioned before, you know, they do share that outdoor garden space with the second location of Duck Fat.
Yeah. Which I think, isn't that just fries?
Yeah, they just do fries at that location.
Which honestly, it's for perfect. Like a brewery, a brewery right there, like fries and beers. Do they have the dipping sauces?
I don't know.
Because that would work really well.
Yeah. So do you want to talk a little bit about our experience at the Brewing?
I don't care.
Location?
Do you have more that you wanted to go?
I do.
What's your pacing?
But why don't you, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit, you know, so we got there, we had some beers with Hannah. Yeah.
Hannah and Tyler. Well, we talked to Tyler prior and he hooked us up with Hannah, who took us through all that they had on tap at that point. And actually, I'll go through and pull up everything that we had. I know we talked about like what we liked the most on the last episode, but I think it's worth kind of going through and talking about it. But it was really nice of them because they you know, let us try everything for free, and they gave us these beers for the reason of he wanted to showcase very different things that they do. And you can see that clearly with the first two that we've had here, where the first one's, you know, like oak barrel aged farmhouse ale, and it gets a lot of that kind of like lemoniness with some floral notes. And then the next one is just like more funky. It's got a little bit of that tartness, but it's way more funky, even cleaner and easier to drink.
Can I have some more of that first one?
Are we allowed to go backwards in these tastings?
I do what I want.
That's true, you can.
My glass is empty.
I'm just giving you a little, though.
Okay.
Because at some point, we're moving ahead here. Okay, so we did... Okay. So here's what we had when we were there. We had the Farmhouse Pale Ale. We didn't have the barrel-aged version.
Okay.
We had the regular Farmhouse Pale Ale. So this is with the oak added to it. That's why I didn't think... I guess that's why I was like, I don't think we had this one. So well, first of all, we liked all the beers. Mm-hmm. We quite liked that one. The Grisaka that we talked about, I loved it. It was a very nice grisette with the Zaka hops. Really tasty, good hoppy profile to it. The Space Cowboy, which was their beer de Garde, that was also a very nice one. We actually then got a full glass of that we shared. Very nice.
Which one was that?
The Space Cowboy.
Got it.
Beer de Garde. The Oktoberfest, which was another beer de Garde by them. That was quite good. The Crossfade, which we just tasted a little bit ago. Quite liked. The Metal Face, which I believe was the same kind of like stainless steel soured. And that one I remember being more like sour as far as the beers go.
Yeah, there were two that were definitely more sour.
Yeah. And those are the ones we tried there. But then also at their location in Portland, if you remember, I had talked about how much I loved their Lupolo.
Right.
Oh my God, their Lupolo.
And that is an Italian-style Pilsner, and that's the only Pilsner.
Italian-style Pilsner?
Per my research.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know that. I just saw Pilsner on there, and it was so clean, so tasty. We also had their Loretta, which was another one of their grisettes, which was also very good. Not as good as the Grisaka, in my opinion, but also very, very nice. That Lupolo just kicked my ass how good it was. The Saisandre 3000, which was another one of the more sour type farmhouse ales. That was really good. And then we talked about it before. Your favorite.
The Infinite Darkness.
The Infinite Darkness, which was a Belgian Imperial Stout.
And again, they do a barrel-aged version of that.
Oh, my God.
I know.
That was probably really awesome. Which, as far as, like, I've had Belgian stouts before, and I don't think I've had any Belgian Imperial Stouts, but I've had Belgian stouts before, and I've never enjoyed them like that.
Yeah. Well, again, like, I've already said it on this podcast. I'm like, about these styles, but I'm, like, wrong, and I'm wrong every single time, but I continue to, like, tell myself I don't like this.
That's part of the reason we do the podcast, because, people always say, oh, I don't like that type of beer. I don't like that. But try it.
Yeah.
Because maybe you do.
Yeah. So Carlin talked a little bit about the grisettes. And we talked a little bit to Mike about the grisettes. And he made an interesting point how some people don't like to purchase or buy them because at least theirs, like their one is called Loretta. And he was saying how it sounds feminine, and I'm like, really? I would never think about that, but I guess as a female, maybe I just don't.
Right.
But it's interesting to think about. You already rinsed me, right?
I don't remember. So. Here.
How like marketing and names can play into if you're going to buy a beer or not.
Well, especially with where their brewery is located, because it's a very rural area. You do have a lot of farmers there, and Mike even said, we have a lot of farmers come in after they're done with work and just have some beers. So the whole masculinity thing, it's more of a thing with people who are into manual labor, and they do that for a living. And just like rural areas in general, masculinity is more of a cultural thing. Yeah. So, looking at a beer being like, that's called Loretta, if that's who you are, you're more like, I don't know if I want to do that. It's a little wussy.
But then Space Cowboy, which was lower ABV, I think Hannah said does appeal to more of their locals, is what she was saying. But I thought it was interesting of her account of people coming in. They're like, where's your IPA?
Yeah.
And she's like, we don't do that.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the reasons I really wanted to go to Oxbow when I knew we were going to be taking this trip to Portland, because how often can you go to breweries and they have an IPA? Pretty much all the time. Yeah. Like pretty much every place you go to. But how often can you go to a brewery that specializes in farmhouse ales? Right. And as people know, I will say it on the podcast, and I've said it numerous times before, I really, really like farmhouse ales, especially ones that are well done. And to me, Oxbow does an awesome job. And I'm not just saying that because they gave us free beer.
Oh, I was just going to say that one of the articles I read was that they are maybe trying to revive the grisette style.
I'm for it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Which I was like,
Kidding me? Where do I sign up, you guys? Because I'm on board. Do I need to pour another one of these beers?
Yeah, I was going to say, let's pour another one. And then...
Okay. So this is the Bobasa, which is a barrel-aged smoked farmhouse ale.
Okay, I'm turning my nose up because I don't like smoked beers.
I know. But... This was bottled in December of 2016.
Wow.
So on the older end. Production time, want to guess on this one?
18 months.
36 months.
Are you kidding me?
3 years production time on this. Enjoy within 10 years, which obviously we're doing. 6.5% alcohol. It says it is a blend of barrel-aged smoked ales. Young smoked Biere de Garde is blended with 1- and 2-year-old vintages aged in white wine barrels.
Huh.
I'm going to have this very close to the bucket.
Yeah. And we did have another smoked... What was the other smoked one we had? Did you finish reading all the ones we had? Did we get sidetracked?
Yes, I did read them all.
Oh,
So
you
I
did?
guess I forget
Okay.
which one was the smoked.
Yeah, there was one that was smoked, and I was like...
Oh, it was the Oktoberfest,
Okay.
I think. I'm pretty sure it was the Oktoberfest. This one didn't run over, by the way.
Okay.
So there you go. First one to not run over. I'm excited about this. I mean, just think about this.
I mean, I'm excited to try something that
Took that much work.
yes, and I can appreciate that.
Right.
I just am not a fan of smoke in my beer.
Well, I mean, but let me take you back to when we went to Quest Brewing
That's
in
true.
South Carolina.
I
Their
know.
smoked
And that was good.
peach dark saison.
I'm having an open mind.
All right, good. Man, this looks like orange, with a little red to it.
Yeah, it looks like an amber.
It looks kind of clear too.
Yeah, and it's
it's pretty clear.
It's just hard because I feel like all I do is smell an ashtray.
Ooh, no. It's not ashtray. It's more of like burnt leaves. Have you ever smelled like burnt leaves?
It does smell like fall.
Oh, totally.
Like crisp, kind of like a chill in the air, and you're getting like some whiffs of like maybe like fireplace smoke outside.
This makes me want to light a carved pumpkin, sit out and hand out candy while someone burns a pile of leaves.
First of all, you don't like the smell of burnt leaves.
That's true.
And when's the last time you carved a jack-o'-lantern?
Gonna do it soon.
Yeah, I told Carlin we're doing it this year.
No, but this, that's what that smokiness smells like.
It smells like fall.
Yeah, no, it totally does. It smells...
I'm not getting a lot of other...
There's leather to it. There's a little bit of a leather note in there. There's a little bit of a tobacco note.
Yeah, I feel like to me it's like that. My sniffer is not as good as yours. That all kind of smells like this same.
Like the smoke. Yeah. So for me, it's like, this is the layering. It's like smoke, tobacco, leather, and then very, very light is this dull kind of lemon tart that kind of carries through each sniff. It smells really good, though. I'm excited. You don't taste the smoke that much.
See, I do.
I taste it, but compared to what it smells like, I don't taste it that much. You know what I mean? Like, based on the smell, there's a lot of smoke to it.
Yeah.
And what you taste is, it's there, but it's not super present.
Yeah. It's not my thing. But I can taste the layers of flavor.
I like it a lot.
For me, I want to eat some like pit beef or pulled pork with it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, just like pork tenderloin, like a seasoned pork tenderloin would be amazing with this. With like maybe an apple chutney.
Yeah.
Sure.
For me, this would be better with food than just kind of drinking on its own.
Yeah, I could see that. Because you'd have a way to kind of mask the smoke.
Yeah.
So, I get the smoky flavor. I get the tobacco I was talking about. I get the leather. Everything is more muted than it was in the nose. And then I get more of a sourness than I was smelling.
Yeah.
And it carries throughout. And it is lemony.
Yeah, there's another fruit in there, though. It finishes, a little, like, sour and tart.
A little apricot? You think maybe a little apricot to it?
A stone fruit, if you will.
Stop. Don't go there.
Carlin's pet peeve.
Okay. I don't have that many beers with smoke to it, but this is working so well, in my opinion. I love the way that all these flavors integrate with the tartness.
Well, it is interesting because you have those layers of flavor and they yet are all pronounced yet delicate.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and the way they all come together, it makes it almost have a little bit of a salinity to it. It's like a tad salty-ish.
Okay.
Reminds me a little bit of like a glazed smoked ham.
We keep going back to that pig.
Mm-hmm. They have this. Well, they should have had this with their pork roast with their pig roast. Dude, I like this a lot. This is very nice.
Is there anything else you want to talk about like our experience with the brewer? Like, anything with Mike Fava?
Yeah. So when we were talking to Mike, one of the things I asked was like, is there any beer that you haven't done that
yet
that you just like really want to do. Like, what's your dream beer that if you can brew it? And it was funny because he was just basically like, I feel like we've just kind of like done everything we wanted to do.
He's like, I'm like living my dream, you know?
Yeah, and it's cool. And, you know, reading the article that I read and having been there and talking to people there, it seems just like kind of, when I say this, it's going to sound a little weird, but it seems kind of punk rock. Not in appearance, but in the attitude of like, I'm going to do what I want. You know, just like, let's just do this. And it seems weird to me that they're successful. Because, you know what I mean? Like, I'm glad because I love their beer. But it seems weird that they're successful because they pop this up out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. They're doing styles that Americans don't know, like, anything about. And then they're putting a twist on them. Like, all of these things individually seem like it's not going to work, especially together. It seems like it's not going to work, but it is. Well, and me, I'm glad, but it just seems crazy.
I felt like a little bit of like, it's like a little beer oasis. Like,
no, truly.
You're driving through, you don't have cell phone reception, and then all of a sudden there's like
a gang of turkeys on the road.
Yes, there's a gang of turkeys on the road.
That did happen.
All of a sudden you're like, oh, there's the Oxbow sign with the owl. And there's a little, like, gravel road. This must be it. And then it's like... And everybody always just seemed so happy. Yeah. And, like...
laid back, too.
Yeah. And they just seemed, like, excited to be there. Like, chill.
Yeah. Like, when we were in the brewery, like, people were working and working hard. But it seemed like they were just, like, relaxed at the same time. And just, like, having a good time. It was like, it's like it wasn't work is what it seemed like.
I don't know if that's just brewery culture. I don't know. Yeah. My job, I feel like I'm like uptight. You know, it's just like.
You also don't get to drink beer while you work.
Maybe that's my problem.
That might be another issue.
I did want to get a beer today at jury duty on my lunch. And then I decided that wouldn't be good.
Checking back in for jury duty, Ossifer. No, not a good idea.
I just wanted to say a couple more things about Mike Fava. He started with Oxbow in 2012, so shortly after they opened. And it seems like he started off as like an operations manager and then became head brewer, especially as they opened the second location. Because that way he could kind of be spearheading everything going on at the Newcastle location, and then Tim could kind of be more at the Portland location.
Makes sense.
And he came from Notting Head Brewing in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I do remember him saying he came from Philadelphia. So they have to ship all their beer there to the bottling and blending location to be bottled.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. The other thing that came up when we were talking to him is I was like, I'm surprised that you guys have beers in Maryland. Like, because literally you and I can go to Wine World near us and pick up some Oxbow beers. It's very limited what they do have there, but we can pick some up. And he explained that basically they had a connection with someone in the D.C. area, so they got into D.C., and then they were also able to distribute in Maryland. So I was like, oh, that's funny. And I'm like, but I'm glad that's the case. Yeah. Because I like these beers.
If you have I don't know if you have anything else to say or anything else.
It was awesome, though.
I was just going to run through a list of some of their beers, but you want to drink the last one?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Of course I want to drink the last one. So this was the first beer they did.
Yep.
This was their Arboreal, and is a barrel-aged farmhouse ale. This one was bottled in January of 2017, so on the older end. Production time, take a guess.
I hate this game. 12 months.
22 months.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so a little over, almost 2 years. Close to 2 years. Enjoy within 5 years, 8.5%.
Oh.
This is the highest ABV one yet. It's an amber-hued American farmhouse ale fermented and aged in second-use bourbon barrels with mixed cultures.
All
right, interesting. Get this near the bucket.
Another. Oh, no. Another.
Nope,
thing.
it's gone.
It's just
a little bit.
A little bit.
Just a little. Not much.
But kind of like what Carlin and I were saying about how everyone just seems happy. And I mean, that's what Hannah said. And Hannah kind of indicated like she feels like everyone's like family.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, like,
what? Yeah,
especially between the two locations.
I do feel like that happens a lot with breweries.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's a little spoilery, but we say that during the Bissell Brothers one, too.
Well,
like,
they are family.
Well, the two, yes, the two brothers are, but the other employees are not. Yeah. So it's a little different. But
I think it's just like anytime you're in a work environment where you believe in what you're doing and you have a passion for what you're doing.
Right.
You know, like.
Great. All right, hand me your glass.
I feel like some of my coworkers along the way, like, I feel like they're family too. You know,
sure.
Like, if you're with someone, I mean, I feel like I'm with them more than I'm with you.
That's messed up. But yeah, no. I mean, that's kind of the way of the world is you're with people at your job a long time.
Okay.
As long as you stay there.
So this looks...
It looks super red.
Yeah.
With a tinge of brown.
Yep.
And I can see shapes through it. Kind of hazy, though.
It smells very apple-y.
I do smell that apple. But I smell like a little caramel behind the apple.
I do too.
Ooh, I smell the bourbon. No, I can get the bourbon.
That's probably where you're getting the caramel. It's from the bourbon.
Yeah, definitely. It's also coming through with a tad bit of vanilla, a little raisin, and just an overall like bourbon sweet. Like
the fruit. I describe it as like fruit cake.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it is a bit like that.
I'm definitely getting some I'm getting some tartness.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely tartness. I'm getting the apple even more as I continue to smell it.
I'm getting like dark cherry.
But also as I continue to smell it, I get more bourbon coming through. Yeah. It's definitely very spirit driven as you continue to sniff it. Oh, it smells good. Ooh.
Interesting.
Oh.
So this is this style always barrel aged?
The arboreal?
Yeah.
I don't know. You did the research.
What does it say? I mean, this on the bottle here.
I mean, it doesn't say if it always is. It's just
okay.
I mean, it's just called arboreal. It's not called like barrel aged. So I assume this is the way it always is.
Okay. So yeah. So this was their first beer.
Which, by the way, what a ballsy beer to start with. Yeah. You know, like, this is probably what they meant with, like, quiet place, loud beer from a quiet place, yeah.
It's an American sour, kind of like a Flanders Red, is what I researched.
Okay, so the flavor on this, I get the apple. I actually get, like, a little hint of cherry, which is kind of weird.
I said cherry on the nose.
Sorry. It's a little woody, which I assume is coming from the bourbon barrel. You definitely get like a light, low bourbon that's coming through with like caramel and some vanilla. And then I feel like I get a slight melon, like a slight honeydew.
Okay.
Which is interesting.
It's fruity.
It's fruity, but it's malty and caramelly. It's good. It's interesting.
You know what I just realized?
Everything's light in it.
We have pork chops.
Oh, dude, this with pork chops. Ooh.
I feel like we need to make the pork chops now.
Yeah, probably. Dude, this with pork chops would be amazing because it would kind of remind you of like I don't know if this exists out there, but like an apple cherry brown sugar sauce on top of the pork chop.
Kind of reduce it down.
Yeah. Actually, if you reduce this beer down and just pour it on a pork chop, it would be pretty damn good.
I would not want to waste this with cooking, though.
Yeah, I know. This is really good. God, I like all this.
So I was just going to run down. Again, they make... How many... I remember Mike Fava saying how many beers they've made, and it seems like absolutely insane. Crazy.
Yeah. So you said they're putting out 40 different ones a year.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's not just the same 40 every single year.
So I started writing down, and then I was like, this is not...
I'm not going to say every one of them.
Yeah. So in really, literally no particular anything. So we talked about their Farmhouse, which is their flagship, the Arboreal, which is their first one. We talked about the Grisaka. We talked about the Loretta. We talked about Space Cowboy. Another one, Blacklight, which is a dark farmhouse. Farmland, which is a saison. Harvest, which is a wet hopped saison. We already mentioned Infinite Darkness. We mentioned Lupolo.
Awesome pills.
And then another one I just thought was kind of... So they do also do beer with fruit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we had the Momoko on the show, and that was such an amazing peach farmhouse beer. Yeah. I think it was aged in white wine barrels, too. Outstanding. Loved it.
And then they did make one with lobster.
How uniquely Maine.
Yes. So that is called Saison del Aragostro.
Okay.
And that means
lobster.
Crayfish or lobster in Italian.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
By the way, on the topic of the Momoko real quick, I remember I had brought up to Mike Fava how much I love that Momoko. And he recounted how much of a pain in the ass it was to make because they literally were just like sitting around like
peeling peaches
forever and cutting them up. And actually, did they peel them? I'm not sure if he said peel them, but they definitely pitted them, obviously.
Right, yeah.
Which, man, what a pain. Yeah. And he kind of said a few things like that, like especially when they're doing the fruit stuff, it's very labor intensive, but it's just like, these beers are a labor of love, you know, and you can tell they enjoy doing it for the craft of it.
Well, it's like any art, you know,
yeah.
Whether it's making beer or food or painting or quilting or sewing or crochet, you know, it takes so much time. And you have to look at the process. It's not just the product.
True. Yeah.
Anyway, so that's basically everything I found. I don't know. I can't say it was everything, but it was what I had time to do between when I got to the courthouse until when I had to go into the courtroom for my questioning.
Actually, a decent amount of time.
Not really.
Decent-ish.
I had to watch all those videos.
Oh, yeah. The last time I went, they didn't do all that.
Oh my gosh. They would listen to all these videos and yeah.
Dumb. So. Okay, so...
Are we ranking these?
Okay, so my question for you before we do that, though, you went into this saying, I don't think I'm going to like these beers. What's your overall assessment of the beers?
I like them.
Yes. Do you even, to some degree, like the Bobasa, the smoked one?
To some degree, yes.
Yeah.
Am I going to drink more after recording? Probably not.
Okay. Well,
I don't know. So if we do decide to cook the pork chops, I would like to drink it with food.
Just to see how it goes.
Just to kind of see.
I'm going to be honest. Every single one of these beers with the pork chop would be an interesting experiment.
Yeah. So next time we should do Oxbow beers with pork.
With different pork dishes. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Actually, I mean, we may not even make the pork chops, though, because we might just be like, just do something easy and we'll just drink these beers.
Well, our other option is frozen pizza or leftover salmon, but I don't think salmon goes with this beer.
The salmon's not going to go with this, but... I mean, it still will, but not as well.
Frozen pizza?
Pizza goes with all beer, in my opinion.
Well, there
Truly.
are... Yeah, okay.
So, ranking of these 4 beers, I would say they're all really good, but... I already have my ranking.
Go ahead, then.
Okay. So my number 1 is going to be the Bobasa.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
This one really speaks to me. It's super finesse. There's so much going on. That's the one that's the barrel-aged smoked farmhouse ale that took 36 months to make and was aged in white wine barrels. So
my math's not that good, but that's 3 years.
Yes. I said it earlier, too.
Yeah.
So...
I was probably looking at my notes.
So that's crazy. The Bobasa's my number 1.
I mean, you could have like a
it.
3-year-old child.
Yeah, exactly.
In the time.
Someone may. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's my number 1. It's amazing. Almost as amazing. And my number 2 is the Arboreal. The bourbon barrel-aged farmhouse ale. And then after that is the barrel-aged farmhouse pale ale. That is the Farmhouse Ale American hopped in oak. And then the last one being the Crossfade, which is the Brett stainless steel done. Not a big surprise to me that the Crossfade's the last one, even though I still quite like it, because I've said it before, like stainless steel, beers with quote bugs in it versus the wild ones. I'm like always going to prefer the wild.
I need to splash water on more of that Crossfade.
Okay.
To determine my ranking.
All right. Here's your splash. There's your water. And then Crossfade was the one that exploded the most. Yeah. Which I guess shouldn't be that much of a surprise, seeing as that it's the one with Brett.
Random, but are you excited or not excited to watch Riverdale tonight?
It's a good show.
Carlin. I need it on podcast.
Confession.
I
like Riverdale, okay?
Archie Andrews. Okay.
Not my favorite character, but
Anyway, so my number one is going to be the barrel-aged Farmhouse.
Oh, yeah? Mm-hmm. The barrel-aged Farmhouse Pale? Okay, that's your number one. What's your number two?
I think part of it is because I want a second bottle because I want that for Thanksgiving.
Okay, yeah, super versatile, but still really tasty and will stand out.
My second is going to be the Arboreal.
Okay. Digging that bourbon in it?
I am. Then the Crossfade, and then the
Bobasa.
Damn
you.
Sorry. So that's fine. That's so funny. That's your first and that's my last.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens. And it's just, I don't know, just like, I don't have that many smoked beers. There really aren't that many smoked beers out there, but
let me do it again.
Try the Bobasa again. Good. Very good. Yeah, like, I just don't have that many smoked beers, and when I have, like, a really nice smoked beer, and it's not like the smoke is just, like, bam, in your face, like, it's there, it's like medium, like I was saying, medium, low, there's a lot of other stuff going on.
It's just hard, because when you don't like something, it just, you taste it more.
Sure.
For food, for beer, for whatever, it's like, you can't get past it.
Yeah.
So I'm having
There are a lot of people who are that way with, like, coconut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was actually just talking to someone today. I was telling them about the no-bake energy balls that we make for breakfast to have during the week. And they were like, oh, what's in that? And I was, like, listing off all these things. They're like, that sounds great, sounds good, sounds great. And then I got to coconut flakes, and they're like, everything but the coconut. And I'm like, well, you can leave it out. But, yeah, like, people are super polarized on coconut,
and
just like cilantro as well. Just like you're very polarized on smoke and beer.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
but your retaste of it,
I still feel the same way. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not as smoky now that I'm like having more. I think I liked that smoked peach saison by Quest because I think it had that.
Yeah, it was really good.
Fruit notes to kind of balance it out a little bit.
I can see that. Yeah.
I can't say this is a bad beer,
No, it's certainly not. It was my number one. And you even said yourself that I have a better nose. Yeah. Does that mean I have a better palate, too? Because those things are interconnected.
Maybe.
Bobasa number one. Okay, cool. Well, awesome. I was really excited for this episode. Because, first of all, how often on the podcast do we have Farmhouse ales? Yeah, not often. Second, how often do you have 4 Farmhouse ales on the same podcast? Never.
How often do you have beers that have been
that took forever
to make?
Exactly. Like, what did we have? We had 14 months, so that's 2 months over a year. You have 6 months. You had the 22 months and 36 months. That's a lot of time between 4 beers. 6 months is
just a baby.
In comparison. I mean, how many breweries out there haven't made a single beer that takes that long?
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
A lot of them are just turn and burn.
This is what I'm saying. Like, Oxbow kind of blows my mind.
Yeah.
Kind of blows my mind in a really great way.
Okay. So, thank you, Oxbow, for hosting us and making us feel at home and being awesome. Thank you, Mike Fava, for taking so much time with us. I will always remember you for pointing out my necklace, which was not a fava bean, but in fact my zodiac sign. And Hannah and Tyler and everyone else who there are people there that we don't even know, but they were like just kind of there saying hi, being welcoming. So thank you for all of that.
And Katie LaBelle, who actually set the whole thing up for us. Huge, huge, huge thank you to Katie LaBelle. I sent an email out to all 3 breweries, not on the same email. I sent them separately. Bissell Brothers, Allagash, and Oxbow. And Katie responded to me within 2 hours of me sending that email. So I was just like, whoa. And she was like, yeah, let's do this. So Oxbow was the first. Yeah. So I was like, they're locked in. Let's do it. And that's why they are the first to get their showcase episode. So there you go.
Carlin has a big boner for Oxbow.
Well, truth. That is true.
So thanks for listening. And don't forget to
keep it Oxbow brutal.
This has been a Nerd Circle podcast production.